From John Adams to Thurgood Marshall, lawyers have stood as guardians of constitutional order. It was Adams, in 1770, who risked everything to defend British soldiers after the Boston Massacre, declaring, "Counsel ought to be the very last thing that an accused person should want in a free country." The right to counsel was later enshrined in the Sixth Amendment, guaranteeing every accused person the assistance of counsel for his defense. The Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination and guarantees due process a shield against arbitrary state power. Together, they form the bedrock of due process. But these rights are only as strong as the people defending them. And that brings us to the battlefield, where the enemy is within. This unlawful rogue Trump administration that has twisted the narrative of what federal courts and the Supreme Court has rendered in briefs. The misinformation, rather, fake news, is the reason why so many voted against their own interests while being swooned by the snake oil con man, while others, well, let's be open, and candid voted for the onslaught of as much pain as possible against the marginalized groups, even if meant they themselves would be hurt. In this episode, we will dive into the very guardrails at this moment that is keeping our Constitution intact, even at the repeated attempts by this president trying to destroy it all. To speak, that seems unreal. Just let that sit on your soul for a moment. The one person who is charged with keeping America safe, we as individuals are scrambling trying to keep America safe from him. If ever there was time for us to get off the couch, to spend less time watching sports and mainstream media for entertainment, is now. Let's take a quick look at what he recently said about the Constitution.
So let's talk about this, because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return, you've talked about this in the past, of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring him back, though. Your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, you know, and your attorney general has said the issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said.
First, let's be clear, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, or any other lawyer's recommendations and suggestions does not supersede the authority and ruling of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest ruling legal authority of this land. When he was asked, "Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?" he responded, "I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said." We all have been following the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the total disregard of the rulings by the administration. from federal courts all the way up to the Supreme Court. After going back taking a second look at the day he was sworn in, isn't it odd that he did not place his hand on the Bible the second time around, but did the first time? Maybe this is some twisted way he believes that will give him some cover on certain conduct or actions. We can't say that we did not know what type of individual we were putting back into the White House. The internet is abound with videos after videos of what was in store. But in a video that has not aged, I want everyone to be reminded of what Vice President Kamala Harris said consistently on the campaign trail.
And look, we all know who Donald Trump is. This is not... Because here's the thing we all know. He is not someone who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. And in less than 90 days, it will either be him or me in the Oval Office. Yes, we're going to get this done. And I thank you, and here's the thing, because we're really clear and we can all picture it. We can picture the Oval Office, right? And if he is elected, on day one, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. On day one, when I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list. And on top of my list is bringing down, sí se puede, sí. Sí se puede. Yes. And on top of my list, in that spirit, is bringing down your cost of living.
So here we are, seeing it play out in real time. On the 6th of March, 2025, a seismic event rocked the legal world. President Trump issued Executive Order 14230, an order aimed directly at the law firm Perkins Coie, LLP. One does not need to have any criminal justice acumen to understand Trump's intent. This is what he wrote for the purpose of the executive order. The dishonest and dangerous activity of the law firm Perkins Coie, LLP, has affected this country for decades. Notably, in 2016, while representing failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, Perkins Coie hired Fusion GPS, which then manufactured a false dossier designed to steal an election. This egregious activity is part of a pattern. Perkins Coie has worked with activist donors, including George Soros, to judicially overturn popular, necessary, and democratically enacted election laws, including those requiring voter identification. In one such case, a court was forced to sanction Perkins Coie attorneys for an unethical lack of candor before the court. The message was clear: toe the political line or face extinction. Bow to me and my agenda or get crushed. 9 of the most powerful law firms caved and went to the White House to secure a deal. Ultimately, they agreed to give $1 billion in legal services to causes Trump and the firm support. But there was one law firm that did not capitulate, and we will review the ruling that was a knockout punch to the Trump administration. Simply said, this was a shakedown, a bribery, which is an impeachable offense. The executive order stigmatized the firm, revoked its employees' security clearances, restricted government contracts, and threatened access to federal buildings. Why? Because of the firm's past legal representation clients and causes the administration disagreed with, Perkins Coie stood their ground. The federal court wasn't having it. In a blistering opinion, Judge Beryl A. Howell cited, "No American president has ever before issued executive orders like the one at issue in this lawsuit targeting a prominent law firm with adverse actions to be executed by all executive branch agencies, but in purpose and effect, this action draws from a playbook as old as Shakespeare, who penned the phrase, "The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers." William Shakespeare, Henry VI. When Shakespeare's character, a rebel leader intent on becoming king, hears this suggestion, he promptly incorporates this tactic as part of his plan to assume power, leading in the same scene to the rebel leader demanding, "Away with him," referring to an educated clerk who can make obligations and write court hand. Eliminating lawyers as the guardians of the rule of law removes a major impediment to the path to more power. The importance of independent lawyers to ensuring the American judicial system's fair and impartial administration of justice has been recognized in this country since its founding era. In 1770, John Adams made the singularly unpopular decision to represent 8 British soldiers charged with murder for their roles in the Boston Massacre, and claimed later to have suffered the loss of more than half his practice. David McCullough John Adams, 68, 2001. "I had no hesitation," he explained, "since counsel ought to be the very last thing that an accused person should want in a free country, and the bar ought to be independent and impartial at all times and in every circumstance. The U.S. Constitution affords critical protections against executive action like that ordered in Executive Order 14230. Government officials, including the President, may not subject individuals to retaliatory actions after the fact for having engaged in protected speech. They may neither use the power of the state to punish or suppress disfavored expression, nor engage in the use of purely personal and arbitrary power. In this case, these and other foundational protections were violated by Executive Order 14230. On that basis, this court has found that Executive Order 14230 violates the Constitution and is thus null and void. For the reasons explained, plaintiff is entitled to summary judgment and declaratory and permanent injunctive relief on counts 2 through 9 of the amended complaint. The government's motion to dismiss is denied. An order consistent with this memorandum opinion will be entered contemporaneously. The ruling is 102 pages long, and I encourage you to take the time to read it thoroughly. This unlawful executive order, like much of the administration executive orders that have gotten struck down, really speaks to the character representation of what we have in the White House and what we do not. This case wasn't just about one firm. It was about whether the government can punish legal counsel for representing unpopular clients. That's not justice. That's tyranny with a gavel. You might think this doesn't affect you, but when the government can decide who gets a lawyer or which lawyer can work, that's the start of authoritarianism. You have the right to the counsel of your choosing. The Fifth Amendment says, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." The Sixth ensures a fair trial, the right to counsel, to face one's accusers, and to prepare a defense. If lawyers are silenced, if firms are blacklisted for doing their job, who will defend you when it's your turn? We don't just protect lawyers because they're lawyers. We protect them because they stand between the individual and the unchecked power of the government. In another scene, unprecedented, lawyers are joining forces, standing for the rule of law, and standing firm on their oath. They are worthy to be applauded for holding the line.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
A lot of people were reaffirming their attorney's oath.
And it is, I think, the way that attorneys can best support our country. And we have a special skill and took a special oath, and we need to live up to it.
It gave me chills reaffirming it because it is so true. We are the pillars. Without lawyers, there's chaos. We stand up for the rule of law, and it's on us. It's on our shoulders to fight, and I'm ready for it.
If you are watching this video, you have the spirit of liberty and truth. We all have a duty to assist in whatever capacity we can. As a content creator, I realize that various platforms are saturated with a barrage of misinformation in an echo chamber, and we need to combat it with the truth. I believe that an overwhelming amount of people who receive the truth will join the fight for this republic. I am a new channel in the sea with the greats, and although my channel is small, every little ripple can assist in the force of the wave, and we need waves to come from all directions. It's a small ask to hit like and subscribe to help the algorithm push the content. So, if you have not done so, please hit the like and subscribe button to reflect your support that speak for liberty, justice, and the uncensored light of reason. No matter how heavy and volatile the world is currently, thoughts, reflections, and respect always carry us home. So as we come in for the soft landing, remember, hard truths, bold conversations, but always peace at the end. And as always, stand up, speak up, and let the voices of freedom break the silence. Thank you for your support and for tuning in to the episode of Thesis of the World.